Good evening and welcome to Harrison County, the Issues and the Answers, a live stream debate featuring candidates for the Harrison County Commission. Today's event is brought to you by WV News, the Exponent Telegram, and Interaction Media. I'm John Miller and I'll be serving as the moderator. Let us welcome our distinguished guest. First, David Hinkle to my right, a Republican who is currently serving on the commission, and Michael Romano, a Democrat and former commissioner, to my left. Our format includes introductions from each candidate as well as 6 questions formed by the WV News editorial board. Candidates will rotate on answering the questions first or last, with a rebuttal period available on each question if needed. At the end of the questions, each candidate will give a closing statement. Let's meet County Commissioner David Hinkle.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David L. Hinkle, and I'm running for Harrison County Commission. I've lived in Bridgeport all my life with my wife, Jan Wilson Hinkle of Stonewood. Many of you know her from her years of singing with Second Street. My children grew up in Bridgeport, David and Janelle, and I'm a 1974 graduate of Bridgeport, and my brothers Stephen and Michael also attended. And the other thing that's exciting for me is my mother spent over 30 years teaching math, algebra, and geometry at Bridgeport. I have 5 grandchildren and 3 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. I was blessed to start my career with my father, who took over our family business, Hinkle Brothers, in Clarksburg, who was started by Leslie Hinkle and his 4 brothers. I helped manage Hinkle Brothers for many years, and then Jan and I purchased our own company, MacFab, also in Clarksburg. For almost 40 years, I've owned or managed a business in Harrison County. This has allowed me to be involved in supplying products to the glass industry, coal industry, steel, and aluminum in our region and around the world. I have worked with businesses in Canada, Germany, Spain, Mexico, France, and sometimes people find it hard to believe, but I did spend 3 weeks once in Pakistan working on a glass plant. So I have traveled and seen quite a bit over my years as far as business goes. And I've been in a lot of negotiations with businesses around the world. Jan and I owe our success to hard work and not afraid to take a chance, and appreciate people who have worked for us, whether they were the administrative staff, machinists, and welders of our community, and partners that we developed around the world while we worked with our business in the steel mills. I will continue to use these skills as your next county commissioner. Thank you.
And now we'll hear from the challenger, former Commissioner Mike Romano.
Thank you, John, and thank you to West Virginia News for setting this up. I think it's important for our citizens to be able to hear candidates debate, and it's something I wanted to do more of. We weren't able to work that out, but wanted to thank you all. Hi, I'm Mike Romano. Grew up here in Harrison County all my life. I started out in Alta Vista Elementary and went on to Central Grade School and graduated from WI. My father was Melvin Romano, and for those that are old as I am will remember he had the Key Market out in Nutter Ford. My mother, Lucy, was a public school teacher for 35 years, taught at RW in Bridgeport. I have 3 brothers, David, who's an attorney like me here in town, my brother Paul Romano, who lives up in the Wheeling area, and my brother John, and if you've met my brother John, you can't forget him. I'm married to a wonderful person, Amy Romano, who works for WVU Hospitals, and I have 2 children, Emma, who is a sophomore in college, and my son Michael, who is a sophomore in high school at Bridgeport. I'm an attorney and a CPA. My background is totally immersed in business and the law. I was a federal officer with the Securities and Exchange Commission for almost a decade, in which I prosecuted securities fraud and stamped out corruption wherever I could. I've been your county commissioner. My term was a decade ago. It's hard to even believe it's still around, that I can remember that far back, but I do. It was a great experience. went on to be your state senator for 2 terms, and I hope you think I've served you well. You know, I'm here and running for county commission because I think we need to get the county back on a good path. I think we've spent too much taxpayer money on things that were needless and unnecessary, such as the building that was just completed up on 3rd Street, when that money could have gone to a lot better things. I think we need to get back to civil behavior with each other and make sure our government runs smoothly. I have so many people that I speak to on a daily basis, both from my time in Charleston and from living around the country and in different places in the world. And, you know, I get calls about what's going on in our county commission. That needs to stop, because what should be first is you. Nothing else other than the taxpayer and providing the services that we need to provide as a county government. And that's what I'm here to do. I need your vote on Election Day for Harrison County Commission. I'm Mike Romano. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for those introductions, and let's move on to some questions and address some of the concerns that we've heard from our readers and our audience down through the years. We'll start with Mike. Question number 1, if elected to return to the county commission, how would you prioritize spending taxpayers' money?
Let me tell you, the first priority on spending taxpayers' money is don't spend it unless you have to. You know, my dad raised me with the understanding that you get what you need, not always what you want. And that's how I've always treated the taxpayers' money, whether I've been in the commission or the Senate. There's nothing more important than keeping taxes as low as you can when it comes to working people and seniors, because they're the ones that suffer the most when there's a raise in taxes or there's any kind of increase in cost, and that's very important. And that's always been my priority. So, you know, when you talk about spending priorities, the first priority is not to spend it unless you have to, and we really have to do that. Our county's in debt, you know, tens of millions of dollars. We've never been in that kind of debt before, and they're going to be paying that for the next 30 years. And that means that I'm not even going to be around when it gets paid off. It's going to be our children. The first priority, though, that the county has is to make sure we fund the services that people count on. Police, fire, emergency services, our senior centers. Those have got to be our top priority. And those are the ones that should get funded first. But then we have to look at water and sewer and other infrastructure that brings in business and brings in jobs. You know, 12 years ago, I started working with a whole bunch of other people on this expansion out of our airport, and we're going to have another chance to talk to that. Dave's been a part of it. And, you know, because we had money to invest into our airport facility, we now have 2,000 employees out there. We're going to be at 3,000 here in just a couple of years. And that's great news for all of North Central West Virginia, because your kids can get a good paying job, a lifetime job if they want it, and most important, stay here at home. That's never happened here in West Virginia since I've been a small child, and everybody worked at the glass plants, and those just disappeared. We've got great investment here. We've got a great school. I recommended Dave to be on the board at the Pierpont Technical School. Our kids can go and get a sufficient education to get hired by one of these facilities, and we have a 100% employment rate for every graduating class if they want to work here. And their tuition is paid for through bills that were passed while I was down in the Senate. Those are opportunities that we need to prioritize our spending on, and once we take care of the services that all citizens look forward to and need in our county, and then we can worry about, you know, if there's anything else that we want.
David, your response to the question?
Yes, thank you. I guess I'd like to point out that debating's new to me. I've always found them interesting. The question was, how would I prioritize spending with taxpayers' money? As a county commissioner, we must follow state statutes before we do anything with taxpayer money, and we must fund all elected officials. And right at the moment, that's $11 million out of our budget. Then we have to pay regional jail, library funds, central garage, fire departments, agriculture agents, and just the utilities and the upkeep on the courthouse, and we're already at $20 million. So just to give you how I would prioritize spending, it makes it really hard when basically your taxes are used for all the constitutional elected officials, which let me go back and point out that the sheriff's department gets $4.5 million, the prosecuting attorney gets over $2 million, your county clerk gets just under $1 million, your circuit clerk gets under $1 million, your assessor over $1 million, and the 3 commissioners pull in $133,000. So I'm going to answer the question on exactly where the money goes. Now, our surplus, we do have some, and it should be used for job growth, maintaining county property, and supplying funding where we can help with matching grants. That's an issue that our commissions in the past have not been very good at. We have funded levies for 911, Parks and Rec, and the newest levy is for the county commission's own personal use for funding rail trails and parks. Right at the moment, we have $900,000 set aside in ARP funds for use on rail trail. We have $1.3 million set aside for rail trail in our budget. We have $9 million in stabilization and OPED. For someone to say that the county doesn't have money, we have several millions of dollars in our accounts, and the commission chooses how it shall be spent. One commissioner, and let me point out again, one commissioner cannot make any decision without another commissioner. It takes 2, and Commissioner Romano knows that you have to count to 2. Thank you.
Mike, would you like to rebut anything there?
Yeah, I would. Thank you, John. I would just say that, Commissioner Hinkle, Dave certainly knows how to count to 2 because he counted to 2 when they built that $20 million building that has 20,000 square feet in it for, over $20 million. Now, that's spending taxpayer money, not worried about all those constitutional officers he talked about or all the spending that he was talking about. That's just extra money. We went into debt for that. Now, the county's always done very well. Harrison County is a very, fortunate county. As a matter of fact, when I was commissioner, that's when we set up the stabilization fund and the OPEB fund. The OPEB fund is to pay a liability to our future retirees. So that money's spoken for. So, we can talk about whether or not there is, a problem with the county commission, but the problem with the county commission was with the last one when it went into debt, well over $20 million for a 911 center that went into the wrong place and we didn't need, and a $20 million building that when we've got 5 available buildings in downtown Clarksburg that could have been used at much, much less expenditure to the taxpayer.
Okay, let's move on to question number 2. We'll start with David first on this one. How important is North Central West Virginia Airport to the county and region's growth? Do you support continuing the focus there?
The North Central West Virginia Airport is probably one of the most significant things that goes on in Harrison County and in North Central West Virginia. I've been on the board 5 years, served as president and vice president, and I also sit as a co-chair of what we have called a special project committee that has worked tirelessly to bring money to the airport for development. One of the things that everybody has to understand is that this airport belongs to Marion and Harrison County, not just one. The airport is one of the largest drivers of economic development in our county and surrounding counties. We have employees that come from 22 different counties that come to work every day up at the airport. We are the hub for future business because this is where you'll be able to get your business flights and where you'll be able to go away for pleasure. We have flights to Florida, so it's very important. The growth at the airport, at the moment, we have invested probably over $40 million by businesses at the airport in the county in the last 5 years. I, as your commissioner, sat down with these businesses and helped make sure that they came to Harrison County. But It's just not as a commissioner. I also sit on the Harrison County Development Authority, and it works towards all businesses and for all communities within the county. I sit on that board, and it means enough to me that when I didn't get reappointed to that board, I personally joined the Harrison County Development Corporation so that I could continue the work that I felt that was needed for the people of Harrison County.
Mike, your response to the question about the importance of the airport.
Thanks, John. You know, Dave's right. There's nothing more important than all of the activities that are going out at the airport. And I think everybody knows what that is. You know, it goes back, for me, almost 20 years when we started working with the airport as part of the North Central West Virginia Trade Development Association. And then when I was elected commissioner, that was one of the appointments that I really wanted to be on because I knew the potential out there. And there's been so many people involved in that. It goes all the way back to Robert C. Byrd when he placed 25 guys here from Bombardier in a hangar that we had empty out there. And they've turned that into such a tremendous cutting-edge business where they refurbish jet aircraft from nose to tail. So we've got to keep that going. You know, I just was fortunate enough to sit on the stage with the CEO of Mitsubishi and Mitsubishi RJ and our regional manager, Anthony Hinton. We just cut the ribbon on two 400,000 plus hangars that are going to see another couple hundred of our area folks go to work there in these lifetime jobs. We have Pratt Whitney that just got a contract on their new jet engine. We have Aurora that does all kinds of composite work that is really interesting for the military in all kinds of places. We have Lockheed, who I just went to their 60th anniversary dinner because there's been so many times we've had to fight to keep Lockheed in here over the past couple of decades. But they're a great workforce, and that's what we have here in West Virginia in our aerospace industry, and we need to keep priming that pump. We're going to move the terminal over to 279, which is going to allow us to give the entire campus to Mitsubishi, and we see great things ahead. It's one of the bright spots in our entire state, and certainly one of the shining stars here in North Central West Virginia.
David, would you like to rebut any of that?
No, everything at the airport's really growing and doing well, and I can say that I'm glad that MHI came. We worried if we would ever be able to make that happen. I can tell you that the mayor of Bridgeport and I sat down with MHI to begin negotiating, that I personally went down to Charleston and oversaw the purchase of a $6 million hangar for $2 million so that that could happen. I've sat in many meetings with Pratt Whitney and worked out with them instead of going to Florida to come to Harrison County by offering them the use of the TIF that we established at the airport. And I've spent several hours negotiating with the growth at Aurora Boeing. So I'm very familiar with the growth and have been involved in it very intimately, and am proud of what I've been able to accomplish.
Very good. We'll move on to question number 3 here. We'll start with Michael. You know, Harrison County, we've mentioned this throughout the debate so far, but Harrison County is often cited by state and federal leaders for its strong economic development. But there are some who believe too much focus is on the areas near the airport or near the interstate, leaving some parts of the county underdeveloped. What are your thoughts? Is there any solution, or will development always follow along major highways?
That's a really good question, John, and one that doesn't have an easy answer. You know, first of all, it takes a team approach. There's nobody in government that's so important that we couldn't do without them. So it should never be about just one of us. It should be about everybody you elect working together to bring about a good result. And our small towns and communities have largely been forgotten in Harrison County over the past few years. You know, I've had the town of Lumberport come to me with simple little requests as a senator to help get drains fixed and help get a little bit of money to provide them with equipment for their sewage treatment plant. You know, I was happy to do that, but it's the county that ought to be stepping in to help these small communities. When I was on the commission, we got water out to the western part of the county. Water, sewer, and roads are the three most important things that a county commission can help bring to their small towns and communities to help them thrive. Now, how do we make our small towns grow? The great point is growth is on the interstate. You know, that's not unique to West Virginia. That's all over the country. You go up and down the interstate, every exit has a whole bunch of people on it. I've always kicked myself for not buying property at some of the exits where, you know, they're now, you know, you see White Oaks and you see Charles Point and you see all the other things that are growing up along the exits. People need to be able to get easy access, and they're going to go to the place with the easiest access. So where does that leave our small towns? Our small towns provide a great home for their residents. We need to make sure we continue that great home by providing the services that county commissions are supposed to provide: police, fire, and emergency services. Medical care is a big part of that, and we have a great medical community here in Harrison County, and we got to keep that growing. But most importantly, if we want to make them thrive financially, we have to give them tools and give them ideas to be able to make themselves more financially independent, because that's when everybody does well. And, you know, one of the ways we do that is we make them a destination. We find ways to have a rail-to-trail system that allows us to connect to Pittsburgh and all the way west. That'll bring people in. We look for ways to bring hunting and fishing into Harrison County so that the smaller towns can attract those people because they have large forested areas that would be able to do that. I'm a huge supporter of the 4-H, and the Livestock Association is trying to get money together for a barn that will be able to be a showpiece for Harrison County that will attract thousands of people to the communities where it's located and bring thousands of people into Harrison County. That's how you think forward. You don't think in a little box and never get out of that little box. You got to think beyond it. When it comes to our small towns and communities, it's very important that we all put our thinking hats on, get rid of the I, stick with the team, and listen to all the good ideas there are and make the really good ones work.
David, your response to the question, please.
John, it's a question I get asked a lot, and it's a very hard thing to explain to the residents of Harrison County. I'm very involved in the Harrison County Development Corp, MAC, the airport, with the development office in Charleston. And all the people that I just mentioned would love to spread jobs around our county and state. But we know that one thing that we don't have is the road network, so we don't have easy availability to major highways. We don't have all the flat land that we need. People are usually looking for 50,000 square foot buildings or larger, and we still have a utility, water, and sewer problems. But I guess what's hard for me to grasp is that my opponents spent all those years in Charleston, and we never got any exits on I-79. I think that we need 2 on the southbound towards Lost Creek, and we need 2 on the northbound. And until we increase our exits, we know that we're all built out. Nothing has ever come from the state. That's a state issue and a federal issue. It's not a county commissioner's issue. We're to help the county succeed as people that live outside of the cities. That's our responsibility, not to oversee what small cities do. We're there to help, but basically we are the city of Harrison County to help the people that don't have access to city tax dollars and to city police departments. We're to supply all that as commissioners. So I would love to see more development outside of the interstate, but until we build better roads, a good example from Bridgeport to Wallace is probably a 47-minute trip. From Clarksburg to Johnstown, another 40-minute trip. Can we help these communities with businesses? Yes, but corporations hire site selectors to evaluate us, and they have their set of requirements. And no matter what we say or what we try to influence, they have the final say. and sometimes we don't even get back past the first round unless we have what I said, availability to major highways, flat land, and existing buildings. That's what's important, and that's what we need to work on locally, is definitely supplying flat land and buildings.
Michael, a rebuttal?
Yeah, sure, John. First of all, you got to have money to do that. And when you spend $20 million on a building that nobody wanted and was unneeded, you've already used up some of that money that you could have flattened land with and provided, pads that could be leased or sold to businesses to bring in more jobs. But Dave, as county commissioner, you should have picked up the phone and told me that you thought a couple more exits on I-79 would be worthwhile. Today is the first time I've ever heard of that. Now, there are a lot of road needs here in Harrison County. I've worked for years to try to get Meadowbrook Road extended to the 4-lane all the way out to 19. It's a big price tag and it's a lot of money. But again, if we're wasting our money on things that we don't need, we'll never have the money to be able to do things. And it's a team effort to get that stuff built. Mike Romano can't do it himself. Dave Hinkle can't do it by himself. But what should be done, Dave, is if you think we need 2 additional exits on I-79, you've talked to me 100 times. All you had to do was say, Mike, do you think we could work towards this? Because working together, which is what we have to do in Harrison County, is the way we get things done.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. We'll start with David first. There has been an influx of federal dollars over the course of the pandemic, including money targeted for infrastructure. It's come up in our debate so far, but we're going to dig deeper here, folks. There remain areas of this county that are dependent on wells for water and septic systems for waste, or worse, some people are still straight piping waste into our waterways. What are your plans to address these infrastructure issues and to keep those improvements affordable for those affected? David?
Thank you, John. As a county commission, we oversee PSDs. And PSDs were formed long before I became a commissioner or Michael became a commissioner. Those are the groups that we determined that would supply water and sewage to the people of Harrison County. Some of our cities have expanded, but we said we would let local public service districts handle this issue. As commission, we're supposed to oversee what the public service districts do. Since I've been on the commission, I have tried to find out financials and tried to get the commission involved, and previous commissions never wanted to get involved in PSDs. Today we have one large PSD, which is Greater Harrison. Mike might have been on the commission when they approved it. They have over 4,000 customers. The issue that we now have is the Harrison County Commission is responsible for the rate hike that the Greater Harrison County Commission, or PSD, requires. In the last few years, they've come at a 28% and recently an 8%. So all the rest of the PSDs have to go to the state to get their rate increases. The commission has talked about combining PSDs, but as my opponent likes to say a lot, nobody wants to take off their letterman's jacket. So we have PSDs that want to stay independent, and we have not forced them to combine. We did have $13 million that came to the county in American Rebuild Back funds, and we gave the cities and the PSDs in this county over $12 million, and we did shortchange some people, the Clarksburg Water Board and a couple of other PSDs, and the county took money out of the 911 funds and transferred them in for payment on a $4 million 911 center, not 20, to pay us back, and then we used that money to transfer it back out to other PSDs. I would love for everybody to have great water and sewage, but at the same time, we have failing water and sewage in our cities and in our PSDs because of the age. So until we fix what we have, I think we need to reevaluate growth.
Michael?
Yeah, thanks, John. First of all, Dave, I never said the 911. The 911 was $4 million. Shouldn't be in Charles Point, and it was only supposed to cost a couple million when it was supposed to go to PK. But that's what got changed, and we spent all that extra money. Should have never been in Charles Point. It doesn't even meet the code because it's in a populated area. 20 million was the annex, and that 20 million can never be spent on water and sewer that we need desperately in parts of this county. There's nothing worse than knowing that they're discharging raw sewage into our waterways where our kids swim and folks fish and should be available for recreation, not a pollution collection device. So how do you do that? Well, when I left, we had just finished the water project out to the western part of the county, and that was a huge thing, and it was a tremendous undertaking, and it requires money. And not county money. I mean, you have to have seed money, you have to have matching funds, but it's mostly federal money. That's what should have been done when I left. Enterprise has had tremendous problems for decades. The whole that whole part of the northern part of the county should have been a top priority for the commissions to bring good sewer out to them. Now, it's happening a little bit. I assisted a state senator with some of the folks that have put together a package, a facility out there in that area just to help get it off the ground, make sure the federal and state funds came in. They did it, not me. I want to be clear about that. But I was happy to do that because that keeps raw sewage out of our waterways, the places where we get water to drink. And if we don't get it, there's a city downstream or upstream that gets it. And certainly we want to have clean water for us and for our kids and our grandkids. It's one of the most important things to survive. So, if there's a benefit to consolidation, I would think these prior commissioners since I left would have been moving in that direction. I think if you can't get financials from PSDs, a good commissioner would have gone out and resorted to whatever way he needed to get those, if that's what we're talking about. But, we have to make sure our PSDs are viable. We have to be able to give them a little bit of help when they're making improvements that cause rate increases to reduce those rate increases on our taxpayers. Unfortunately, we haven't been doing that. The ARP money was an opportunity to be able to really improve some of the sewer systems around our county. There's several small towns that need tremendous improvement in their sewer systems because they become antiquated. And remember, if government doesn't put money into infrastructure, that infrastructure crumbles just like your house does if you don't put a coat of paint on it, or your roof does if you don't put new shingles on it. And what happens when your roof starts to leak? The whole house collapses. And that's where we're headed in Harrison County because there's been nobody at the steering wheel trying to guide these small towns and communities and these small PSDs in the right direction to maintain that infrastructure and to get it to more taxpayers. And that's what I'm going to do if I'm elected.
David, rebut that, please.
Yes. First off, the 911 center, I was commissioner when the bid came in at just around $9 million. So I don't know where Mr. Romano thought we were going to build it for $2 million. As far as the location, we had it meet the state fire marshals, and he approved the location and approved where the building was built. So I think that puts those two issues to rest. We saved the county money. We used some of the $10 million that Mr. Romano said that we saved. We paid for it, and we're slowly being paid back into our general fund from that expense. Otherwise, we gave one PSD $8 million, and we handpicked the rest of the PSDs. The county has been working for several years to try to get PSDs to combine. We have had meetings and everything else with them.
We'll move on to question number 5 now. We'll start with Michael. Broadband infrastructure gets a lot of attention and funding, but what are your thoughts on broadband access and quality in Harrison County? Is it good enough? What are the solutions if it isn't?
Well, it's not good enough, John, but it's going to get there. And I know that's for folks that don't have access to broadband. That's, well, there we go again. Somebody's promising us something. But, the state and federal government has contributed millions upon millions of dollars to our state. I think Frontier was just awarded a $300 million contract. CityNet has a $50 million contract to put fiber throughout the state. And I mean, there's a lot of other companies in the middle there. Those are just two that I recollected right off. But we now have accurate maps at the state that show every household, whether they have access to internet, whether it's high-speed internet, whether there's any fiber close to it, and that's enabled us to take advantage of the RDOF funds, which are the Rural Development Opportunity Funds, that are starting this first phase, and it's already under construction. I was fortunate enough to be asked by HERA, Harrison County Rural Electric Corporation, to pass a bill that push a bill through the Senate and through the House that enabled them to string fiber optic cable throughout our county, and it's really amazing where they're at. They're in the entire western part of the county. They're going to circle around to Bridgeport. When they get to phase 2, they're going to include Wallace and Spelter, and this is already being done. I mean, we're a few years from that being completed in its entirety, and people are going to start getting hooked up. We're going to be able to bring fiber optic network to every small town and every small hollow to the point within the next 4 to 5 years, probably we're going to be at about 95% of broadband throughout Harrison County. CityNet's doing a great job in helping complete that. They're working in their areas. We have RDOF 2, that's, again, the Rural Development Opportunity Fund that's getting ready to come out, and that's really going to get down to the micro level of people that need to have high-speed internet but can't because they're too isolated. There's not enough houses on the road. You got to remember there's a cost-benefit analysis for all these companies, and if it wasn't for the interplay between private business and government, you wouldn't have internet of any kind moving out throughout Harrison County. But they are working together. They're doing a great job. Of course, supply chain issues have gotten in the way. We're having a hard time getting fiber optic cable and, employees. There's so many folks out there that need employees that they're really paying a premium for folks that want to do that type of work and helping put this up. HERA has done a great job in stringing this fiber optics cables through its network, and because of the bill we passed, they're able to put it on the existing poles at very little cost to customers. I think they're going to be offering internet and telephone for about $85 a month, and I think that's a really good deal at today's prices. So we're moving in that direction. County government can't do a lot to help, although county government certainly can support those if they haven't spent their money unwisely.
David, your thoughts on broadband?
Broadband will always be a state and federal issue. The commission can always support who's going to supply that broadband to us. With the state and federal dollars that are being thrown at the issue, hopefully we'll be able to get something accomplished in the next few years. As far as the quality, I'm not sure we'll ever see the same quality throughout the county. The maps, there's a lot of issues. I think they're still trying to straighten the map issue out on exactly what's considered good internet and what's considered bad internet. As far as HREA, I don't have the same information that Mike has, but as I understand, they have yet to be awarded the dollars. They're still waiting on the money to be issued to them. It was close to $15 million. They know they want to get started. They have good plans for us, and I'm excited that they want to get this and bring it to the residents of Harrison County. I'd say the biggest thing that I can tell the residents of Harrison County is you got to keep on your local elected officials that are in Charleston and your federal representatives in Washington, and to make sure that the companies that are going to supply broadband to us do it in a very efficient way so that we're not paying extraordinary prices to have this available to us.
Michael, would you like to rebut that?
Well, I'd just like to add that, HERA does have those funds. They've begun construction of their network. When they finish 4,000 to 8,000 homes in Harrison County will have quality, high-speed internet, and that's the rural parts of our county, so it's a great thing. The money continues to come in. They continue to build the infrastructure, the fiber optic infrastructure, and they've gotten the large cable. The loop's about to be completed, and I think they're getting ready to turn on their switching station. So you got to know those things. To be able to help with those things, you got to know what's going on in your county, and HERA is a big thing. I will just take my last 15 seconds to add, Dave, one more statement on 911. We built a blast wall to protect the 911 center at Charles Point from the daycare center that's next door. That 911 center didn't belong there, Dave.
We'll move on to question number 6. We'll start with David first. What is Harrison County's top growth opportunity, and what about its biggest need?
Harrison County's top growth opportunity is for the people of Harrison County and their families commit to staying here, working here, and raising their families. That's a commitment that all Harrison County families, their friends, their relatives, if they're not here, is to come back to Harrison County and take advantage of the job opportunities that we have here in Harrison County. Right now, just probably in Harrison County alone, we're probably over 1,000 people short to fill jobs. Harrison County has been stagnant for the last couple of censuses, and we need to find a way to bring people back so that we can continue to grow our natural gas production, coal mining, aerospace, manufacturing, and high-tech jobs. So without the citizens making the commitment to stay here and fill these jobs, it's hard for us to have any growth that we can look forward to in the future. So what I'm going to tell you tonight is, please ask your family and friends if they've moved away. Give Harrison County a look at. Give us a shot. Come back and look and see what kind of job you can get here. I know that they might not be the most exciting things for some of you, but I think we have opportunities that can be life-changing and the ability that for long-term employment. I know housing's an issue, and it's something that as a county and surrounding counties, we're trying to work on it. But I'm asking whether as a commissioner, but as a citizen of Harrison County, please come home. Please come back to work here. Thank you.
Michael, your thoughts on West Virginia or on Harrison County's top growth opportunity and its biggest need?
Yeah, thanks, John. I mean, let me start out by saying this. You can't sit there and say we have all these problems that keep people from coming back and not trying to fix them. Now, a decade and a half ago, we started working on our lack of industry, our lack of opportunity in this county, and, we've had great success. I mean, we have the airport, which we've talked about a good bit. We have a great healthcare industry. We have a plant that's going out just right across the border in Taylor County, just a quarter of a mile, that's going to now make batteries for electric cars. That's the future. That's where we have to be in West Virginia. But the biggest thing we can provide them is a stable government, a government that shows respect for each other as well as its citizens. And that's one of the most important things I've learned that government should provide, because let's face it, we're all citizens. You shouldn't be at odds with your government, and government shouldn't be at odds with itself. So the greatest strength in West Virginia is its people. We have great, hardworking people. Lockheed, I spoke about it earlier. They have the most efficient plant in the Lockheed family of manufacturing facilities throughout the country. Not just in West Virginia, throughout the country. They've been the most efficient for decades, and that's why they're still here. Our greatest strength is our people. We have to find reasons for them to come back. We have to create job opportunities, which we've done. If we have a housing issue, we have to figure out how to remedy that. We can't just ask people to trust us to come back and, live in a hovel until they can find a house. So those are the kind of things that you want your government to do, whether it's federal, state, or county government or your city government. You want them to help with those problems, not just ask you to trust us. I think that we've really failed in Harrison County to take advantage of some of our tourism opportunities. The state, and I was part of all this, we put a lot of money out into some of our state parks. We have one out there West Union. The name slipped my mind there for a second. We have a great park out there at West Union, and we've got to make places where people will come from other parts of our state and other states and come here and spend their money and enjoy being in Harrison County. That's what creates new jobs. It's like a big snowball. It was a big snowball when I got on the airport board, 12 or 13 years ago, and we were flying people for free just to make 10,000 passengers. Now we make that in the first quarter. And give us another year, and we're going to double that when we get the terminal over on 279 and Mitsubishi continues its building and expansion process over on its campus. I mean, we've got great flights, and that's just going up and up and up. Those are opportunities because they build on themselves. More people coming in from Florida to go skiing in any of our skiing resorts. They come through Harrison County. That is more money for our restaurants, more money for our hotels. And those things are what create growth opportunities in your county. So, we can sit back and say, gee, come back, trust us, we're going to fix what we need to fix, or we can go fix it. And if we go fix it, people will come back, and they'll come back in droves, and they'll stay here just like all of us have. And let me tell you, if we can get Harrison County rolling again, the entire northern part of this state will get rolling again, and it'll be great things for our children and their grandchildren. That's what I want to accomplish as your county commissioner.
David, your rebuttal to that?
I would just like to know where Mike gets his information. I thought we were doing really great in Harrison County. We've brought a lot of jobs to Harrison County. We've had nothing but growth the last 6 years in Harrison County as far as jobs go. So I'm a little confused. The other confusion is he wants to talk about the GSA building, the $20 million. He was on a commission when the court system asked for a new building and wanted us, the commission, to build them a new courthouse. So the previous commissions post commissions after him, we decided to go ahead and build a GSA building and to give the courthouse to the courts. And I don't understand why he thinks that we have purchased a building that should be like the present courthouse, which has been there for 100 years, why this building will not be there for 100 years for Harrison County.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for addressing those issues. At this time, we'd ask each of you to give closing statements as to why voters should elect you to the Harrison County Commission. Mike, we'll start with you for closing comments.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, John. And I thought we had another question there. That's what I was trying to point out to you. Maybe we don't. Let me just say that, being a county commissioner is like being in any other elected office. The people have to trust you, and your fellow commissioners have to have respect for you. You have to get along with each other, and that doesn't mean you agree all the time. As a matter of fact, my 2 terms in the Senate, I couldn't have disagreed with more people more often than in anywhere else in the world. I mean, that's just how the cookie crumbled down there. I was for public education. I was for law enforcement. I was for our volunteer fire departments, and I just couldn't get a lot of support. And I stood up, and in a very respectful way, I told them exactly how I felt, and sometimes I persuaded them to go my way. You have to do the same thing as county commissioner. One of the greatest compliments I ever got as senator is I walked off the floor one time, and one of my friends from across the aisle came up, and he said, "I've never felt so good about being told that I was wrong." But that is how government's supposed to work. It's not supposed to be a boxing match. We're not supposed to get out there and throw tantrums and, throw our papers down and walk out. We have to learn that we can't win every single issue, but we have to be a leader and try to lead our fellow commissioners in the right direction. If they don't agree, you move on to the next issue. If they do agree, you're all moving in unison, and that'll be a good thing for your county. So, I just want to say, in just speaking about what's transpired here today, I think this is a great exercise. I hope a lot of people are watching. Dave, I was responding to your statements that we had housing problems and different problems in Harrison County that kept people coming back. But let me just say that when we looked at the courthouse expansion, we decided we could have just moved a couple units out from the assessor and the tax department and increased our room over there at the courthouse by almost a quarter, which would allow everybody to get taken care of for a lot less than $20 million. Didn't happen that way. You made your decision. I don't agree with it, and that's all I'm trying to say. Because I believe there's nothing more important then spending money wisely. And that means spending it on what you need and not what you want. And we didn't need a 20,000 square foot building where we moved 100 people or so, whatever number it is, that already had jobs across the street to a new building. When we build a building, we want to create new jobs. We want to create new jobs like we have out the airport, like United Hospital Center did with the hospital, like they're about to do over there at the old AFG facility. Because when we create jobs, that gives people a reason to come back. That gives people to come back and be your neighbors in Harrison County. And the more people that come back, it'll be better for us because that spreads the cost of government, and it certainly makes all of us, as far as business people, do better. And that's what I want to do for you. If I can count on you and your vote this election day, I promise you that I will always try to do the right thing, and I'll never do anything for myself or anybody that knows me. I only do what's best for the taxpayers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. David, your closing statement, please.
Thank you, John. I want to thank everyone for taking time out today to listen to my views and my opponents. If reelected, I will continue to make sure Harrison County Commission is open and fair to all citizens in the county. The Commission owes you that. The Commission owes you the ability to see how we operate and what we do in all of our meetings. We sometimes fall short of that, and I apologize. But as your present commissioner, I do everything I can to make that possible. I think my record speaks for itself. We have a new 911 center. We have land along 279 for development. We are one of the few counties that do not have an industrial park. And my opponent was on the airport board when we purchased those properties. And the one reason we purchased it, one of the properties was to help with the airport making the availability of 100 acres. One of the things that I'm very proud of is when I became a commissioner, I waited 1 year in waiting and then became a member of the airport board. I asked, and at the time, President Ron Watson told Mayor Andy Lang and I to go ahead and see if we could find the money to take the mountain down. He challenged us, and we came through. That mountain had been sitting there for 20 years, and nobody was ever able to go and get the funding. We went to Charleston, met with the governor, and acquired the funding. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be sitting here today talking about a new terminal. Again, it was going down to Charleston. I go to Charleston and I meet with people in Charleston from the governor's office to the development office and acquire funding for the airport and for the growth of our county. I can say that at this point, probably close to $45 million in grants that I've worked on to come to the airport and millions more for development. What I would like to ask you today is, please let me continue to be your county commissioner. Let me continue to do the work that I think will bring jobs, growth, and prosperity to Harrison County. Please vote for me on November the 8th for Harrison County Commissioner.
Gentlemen, again, I want to thank you both for taking the time to participate in this live stream debate. We wish you both well. I appreciate your guys' professionalism in handling the questions and responding at all times. We also want to remind the viewers that early voting begins this Wednesday. And if you're registered to vote, we strongly encourage you to get involved. There's key decisions to be made, such as in this race. There's several other countywide races. Your House of Delegates, a state senator position is open, and there's 4 constitutional amendments to be decided upon as well. It is not an off-year election just because the President of the United States isn't running. It is a very important election to Harrison County and to West Virginia. We'd like to remind you that early voting, again, takes place beginning Wednesday. It is available in 3 locations in Harrison County at the Harrison County Courthouse, in Bridgeport, across from Buffalo Wild Wings at the Marketplace at Charles Point. We're back in Clarksburg over on the, I guess that would be the west end side a little bit, over near the Spectrum office at Rosebud Plaza. We encourage all registered voters to cast their ballots in this and many other important races. Again, we thank Michael Romano, David Hinkle for joining us, our team at WV News, and the Exponent Telegram and Interaction Media. Again, this program will be available on our website, TheET.com, up until Election Day. So if you didn't catch all of it, you want to review some of their answers, please feel free to go there. Thank you very much. Good day.